What is up, everybody? I am Jake Thomas, and this is, as always, Tide Talk Live. No, this is Best of the West. We decided to come back with you tonight. Stacy and I did. Going to do a little preview of the SEC West this year, and we'll go team by team, look at their schedule, and see how it all shakes out. But before we do that, I gotta get Stacy in here. So, Stacy, how's it going, man?
Man, I can't complain a bit. Happy to be here. Talk some SEC football. We're about 88 days away from September 3rd, which is when most of the teams will be kicking off the season. So it's an exciting time, man. Once June gets here and you start rolling through the month, you realize the season's not too far away.
Oh yeah, and speaking on the summer, once July 4th gets here and gone, I mean it's the summer's gone pretty much. I mean August is here before you know it. So
Yep.
looks like the chat is already starting real good. Roll Tide from Salt Lake City, Utah. By the way, it's
Wow.
Sweet Home Alabama.
That's
So
awesome. Roll Tide.
yeah, Roll Tide. Thank you for joining us tonight. But yeah, Stacey. So let's look at this preview. Let's preview the West. And we're going to talk a little bit about each team. Really, just kind of our thoughts on how their season may play out, and maybe their toughest game. I don't expect to be here 30, 45 minutes. We're not going to keep y'all too long tonight. But of course, the first game or the first schedule we'll look at, we're going to go in alphabetical order, will be Alabama. So everybody knows we start out with Utah State. But that second game, Stacey,
Right. That's when
man.
the season really gets started.
Yeah, that's when the season really gets started. That is going to be our first real test. No disrespect to Utah State. I know a few years ago, that's probably been 7, 8 now, that they gave Auburn a run for the money on their first week. But Alabama's not Auburn. I'm just hate to tell you, anyway, especially that team. But anyway, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Once they get past Texas, they have two. Sorry, ULM. Sorry, Vandy. Two easy opponents.
Yep.
Let's just be honest about it. Then the next challenge, and this one right here may be the toughest one in my mind. Arkansas.
Yeah, the next 3 weeks, really.
Sure.
The first 3 weeks of October, Jake, you're at Arkansas, and then you're at Tennessee, and then you host Texas A&M. That is a treacherous 3-game stretch for Alabama. So that's where you're going to kind of find out what this team is made of. From what it looks like, Alabama should have a strong team. We've talked about it numerous times. We're going to continue to talk about it on Tide Talk. But with the amount of talent they have returning from a national championship game appearance team last year, this is where you're going to find out what they're made of once October rolls around.
Absolutely. Another tough one at Neyland Stadium. I mean, that more than likely is going to be a primetime game on ESPN. It's going to be at night. That stadium is going to be rocking. And then the
garbage truck worker convention.
Right. Yeah. They'll probably have their golf balls and mustard in hand, but after that, they have Mississippi State, and then they have their first off week, and then I mean, 2 tough games honestly after that, starting November 5th at LSU Stadium, or LSU Tigers at Tiger Stadium. And then you go to Vaught-Hemingway Stadium and face Ole Miss, which potentially could be for the West. So, I mean, that's a tough stretch too, coming out.
Yeah, I haven't looked at too many schedules from around the league or from around the country other than Alabama's. But when I look at this, there's 2 different back-to-back away games for Alabama that are really tough. The first one we talked about there, to start the month of October, and then to start the month of November, it's once again back-to-back away games that are in very tough environments against really good football teams. So I'm not sure there's a team in the country that's going to have two separate back-to-back road games that are that tough of matchups as what Alabama has to start the month of October and then the month of November.
Absolutely. You talk about battle tested. This team is
Yeah.
going to be battle tested, whether they come out 9-3 at the end of it or 11-12-0. I mean, it remains to be seen how they're going to play out. But we finish off with Auburn. We have I think we have Austin Peay in there in between there. But Auburn's not going to play as tough, but it's a rivalry game. But I don't see them sneaking up on us, especially after what happened last year. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. But, honestly, I see Alabama, as tough as their schedule is, they have the team that can run it and be undefeated at the end of the season. And if they do have one slip up, it's going to be against either Arkansas or against Tennessee, just in my honest opinion.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think if I had to pick a game right now or games that I would say is the toughest, it would probably be Arkansas and Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then maybe Texas. I'm not sure what Texas is going to have. I mean,
I know.
I don't know what they're going to be like.
I don't either.
I mean, they haven't played defense, and I couldn't tell you when.
Has the Big 12 ever played defense?
Well, they're terrible.
They are. So, speaking of Arkansas, let's look at their schedule. They open up with Cincinnati Bearcats. Us Bama fans are familiar with them, but it's going to be a totally different team because they don't have Sauce Gardner anymore. They don't have Luke Ridenour. They still got their coach. But
Desmond Ridder, you mean?
Yeah, Desmond Ridder. Luke Ridenour. I'm thinking about freaking basketball for some reason. Yeah. So they're going to be a different Cincinnati team. So I don't know how much of a challenge Cincinnati is going to give them. So I think if you look in their schedule right now, they're honestly probably going to be 3-0 going into that A&M game, and if they come out of that A&M game, they're going to be undefeated when Alabama comes to town. I mean,
yeah, it's interesting schedule looking at what Arkansas has. Like you mentioned, open up with Cincinnati. I'm not sure what that Cincinnati team is going to be. Like you mentioned, with the guys that they lost, Sauce Gardner, Desmond Ridder. So there are going to be a Jerome Ford at running back. They lost their best receiver. So they're replacing a lot of pieces. Not to say they're not going to be a good football team, but it's a little different replacing that many players at a program like Cincinnati versus an SEC school like Alabama or Georgia, teams that have, built the kind of depth that those teams have had. So I think Arkansas probably wins that game, should win that game. And you really, like you said, they should be favored up into that Texas A&M game. And I feel like right now the direction of the program, despite what Texas A&M has done on the recruiting trail this past offseason, I still think the Arkansas program is going in a better direction than what the A&M program is.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, there's a lot of question marks concerning A&M. We'll get to that. We'll get to their schedule here later. But on the up and up, this program at Arkansas, Sam Pittman's done a fabulous job, and he's got them in the right direction for sure.
Right, but now the expectations are set, Jake.
Right.
So it's a lot different playing the kind of behind the eight ball than when you are the eight ball.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see how they respond this year. But I think Sam Pittman's a good coach. We talked about that before, but. And I think they're going in the right direction, but it's going to be this will be kind of a tell-all season on the Arkansas program.
Right. After that Alabama game on October 1st, they have a sneaky game. I feel two really at Mississippi State and at BYU. If there's a huge letdown, they may have got up all in for the Alabama game, and Alabama just.
Either way, I mean, way with a win or a loss against Alabama, depending on what it's like going into that game, it could be a letdown, whether it's coming off a defeat or coming off a big win. So that's kind of a sneaky trap game, like you mentioned there against Mississippi State. But they got 3 straight road games with one bye week kind of sprinkled in there.
Right,
they're going to be at Mississippi State, then they got to go all the way to Provo. To play BYU, and then they got to go all the way back to South Alabama, pretty much in Georgia to play Auburn. So
Yeah,
that's a pretty rough stretch there, especially traveling for Arkansas. So going to be interesting to see how they fare in those 3 games.
absolutely. And then the last 3, I mean, they got Liberty after Auburn, but the last 3, they got LSU, Ole Miss, and then Missouri. They had to go to Missouri, but you know, those last 2 games, I'm talking about LSU and Ole Miss. That right there, they get a win, maybe 2 there. You're looking at, I'm thinking about a 9-3 season for them. At worst, I think they're an 8-win program, and if they get one of those wins there, they're a 9-win program.
Yeah, I would say at Arkansas, given what they have right now, they do return some talent. I mean, KJ Jefferson's back. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the conference, and he's proven he's a veteran player now. So that helps them. But 8 to 9 wins is about where I would have them.
Yeah, that's a very good, solid number for them, and it's just another stepping stone for them. So they're on the up and up. You Arkansas fans got something to be proud of, because I mean, we all remember that fiasco against Northwestern, and you know that, oh man, that was a bad look in the SEC. Moving on, we've got Auburn now. We're gonna look at their schedule. They open up with Mercer. I see a loss there. No, I'm just kidding. Don't kill me. But
well, look, their schedules. Yeah. Look, I think 2022 for Auburn is going to go a lot like 2021 did. You know, they had the hot start, and then they just, you know, tailed off towards the end of the season and lost 5 or 6 in a row to end the year. I could see a very similar situation happen in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a heartbreaker to Penn State up at Penn State last year. Now they get them at home. So if they win there, and they could, I could see this team beat Missouri, so they could be 4-0 right there. But then they host LSU, but then you have at Georgia, at Ole Miss, then they have an off week. Then you have Arkansas. We saw what Mississippi State did to them in their own house last year.
A&M, how did they lose that game? How did they let them come back?
I don't know. That was crazy. So, you know, we laugh and make jokes, but honestly,
well, look, and now Brian Harson's got a podcast.
Yeah.
Look, I'm all about people having podcasts, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But when you're the head coach at Auburn, going through what you just went through this offseason, and you're going to start a podcast, how about you work on your football program?
Yeah, you got some bad apples.
I mean, your recruiting is atrocious right now.
Oh yeah,
it's not going to get it done.
No. So I mean, they at best they're probably, honestly, if they win 6 games, that ought to be a win for them. I just don't know if they can get there.
They'll be in between. I mean, because you know they always pull one out of their hat every season, so they're going to be anywhere between 6-6 to 8-4.
Yeah, they're going to be right there in that range. So I agree. And of course, season ending against Alabama, and Tuscaloosa. So it could they could pull that one out, or it's going to be a blowout, one of the two. It just depends what Alabama team responds.
Right.
LSU, man, they open up with Florida State, and honestly, I'm looking forward to that game.
Me too. That's going to be, because the programs each program's kind of in a weird position right now.
Right.
You know, Brian Kelly's now at LSU, and so what's it going to be like after what happened with Ed Orgeron? So they're kind of in a weird situation right now. And then you look at Florida State. What's their coach's name? It just
is it Mike Norvell or something?
Yeah,
like
Mike Norvell. Yeah, Mike Norvell. He's kind of in a he's got to win.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think that's one of the more fascinating matchups to start the season.
I do too. I'm really looking forward to that one.
I think that's going to be on Sunday night, ain't it? That ain't going to be a Saturday. That's going to be Sunday the 4th.
Yeah,
right?
Sunday the 4th. That's right, on ABC. Win lose there. They have Southern the week after that, Mississippi State, New Mexico. Then they go to Auburn. Honestly, their schedule is pretty tough. They have a week. After Auburn, they have Tennessee, at Florida, Ole Miss, and they have an off week before Alabama. Here's an interesting note. Both LSU and Ole Miss have off weeks before their Alabama games. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway.
You remember a
They
couple years ago when 6 of Alabama's opponents had bye
Yeah.
weeks before they played him?
And you talk about bias
I
towards
mean,
Alabama. I mean, how obvious can you get with that? So yeah, but LSU, they're going to be in a rebuilding year per se. I still think they if they win all their non-conference games, they could be a 6-win team and get a bowl bid.
right.
They could probably be set. They could probably win 7. Honestly, if they sneak one past
Hey,
somebody.
I'm really into this. I can't think of anything but this Florida State matchup.
Yeah, let's look at it.
Who do you think's going to win that game?
Man, that's
Is it at Florida State?
No, it's actually
It's at
neutral
site.
Yeah, it's a Superdome in New Orleans.
Right. Okay. So it's a home game for LSU.
It's a home game for LSU. But looking at the talent wise right now, they're both about the same. Mike Norvell, I really like him as a coach, but for some reason he's been struggling here. I mean, the team has gotten better each year at Florida State, but Brian Kelly's just another beast coaching wise, man. And being in a new spot, I think Brian Kelly's gonna get it done his first game there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I
think it's gonna be like a field goal.
I think LSU should win.
Yeah.
I think they still have a talent advantage over Florida State, and I think they have the coaching advantage too. So I think LSU should win. But I do think it's going to be a fun game.
I think it's going to be a really fun game. It's probably one of the best matchups to open, besides maybe Georgia, Oregon,
Right.
So, but yeah, and that's on a Sunday night. So it gives us something to watch on Sunday night after church is over and everything. Moving on, we got Mississippi State. Stacey, before we start looking at Mississippi State, this is Mike Leach's 3rd year. And if you look in his past, his 3rd year at every program he's been at, Texas Tech, Washington State, it's been his best years.
Okay.
Now, I think they went like 10-2 when he was at Washington State his 3rd year, and they didn't make the conference championship because Washington beat them. So I'm not saying friggin' Mississippi State was going undefeated, but could they possibly win 7-8 games this year?
Oh yeah. I would say this is the year because they return a good bit of talent.
They do.
They do lose Charles Cross. They're a really talented offensive lineman, but now they have a really seasoned quarterback in Will Rogers. They have some talent around him. Defensively they're going to be sound and fundamental. So yeah, I mean, I don't see why 8 to 9 wins would be, out of the, just crazy to think that that's possible. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Mississippi State could kind of be one of those surprise teams in the SEC this season. And, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked if they finish 2nd in the West.
Oh, wow.
I'm not predicting that they will, but it wouldn't just shock me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, anything can happen in the West.
And the reason I say that, Jake, is I don't think there's any debating that Alabama will be first in the West, barring some catastrophic injuries to the team.
Right.
Then after that, you look at Arkansas, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and maybe Ole Miss. So, Auburn's not going to win it. LSU's probably not going to win the West this year. They're not deep enough right now. Auburn, they might as well put Menu on the field.
Yeah.
I think it, depending on how things work out, I think Mississippi State has a chance to surprise some people. And like I said, I'm not predicting them to be 2nd in the West, but I wouldn't just be absolutely shocked if they finish 2nd.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Anything can happen in the West. Anybody can beat anybody because, like you said, there's no other division, than the SEC West that plays physical football each and every week. And, injuries do happen. So something happens and
another thing, and I'm not just saying this because the beef between Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, but Jake, what has Texas A&M proven on the field lately? I know they beat Alabama last year, but they won 8 games?
They won 8 games. Yeah. Big whoop.
that doesn't impress me.
It don't impress me either. And we can go down that rabbit hole if you want to here.
Well,
But
real
I
quick, I
just
want to ask the
yeah.
people in the chat. There's several people watching live right now.
Mm-hmm.
Am I crazy to think that Mississippi State could finish second in the West this year?
I
I would
don't.
love to hear everybody's response in the chat. And
Get
and
in the
if not,
chat.
and if not Mississippi State, who do you think finishes second in the West? And if you think somebody besides Alabama is going to finish first in the West, please let us know. The chat is open, and we would love to hear what everybody has to say about what the Western Conference or what the Western Division is going to shake up like this fall. So just jump in the chat right now.
I was going to say, if we're going to talk about Western Conference, let's talk about the Warriors.
Hey,
no.
hey, why you brought that up? Who's going to win
Yeah.
the finals?
Man, they're both tied right now. I was leaning towards the Warriors just because of that sharpshooting, but Boston's defense is actually good. They didn't look good the other night, but their defense is legit. But I mean, Warriors got too much.
Yeah, game 3's tonight. Riders it tomorrow night.
It might be. God, I can't remember.
I can't either.
But, yeah,
but I want Boston to win. I've kind of always been a Boston fan because Larry Bird, but I think it's going to go to 7 games, and it's going to be hard to beat Golden State out there in Game 7. But
I know,
got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's going to be a good series though. I'm actually glad Boston beat Miami, to get there because for some reason that Miami team, they got star power, but I think Golden State would have whipped them in 5.
Yeah, well, the Heat had a bunch of injuries.
Yeah,
they were kind of beat up a little bit. Other than Jimmy Butler, they really wasn't a healthy team, and him and Bam, and they were both kind of carrying that team.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the SEC West.
Yeah. But yeah, Mississippi State, they opened up with Memphis. And we all know that debacle last year with them in Memphis. So that's going to be a good one to open up with. Then they go to Arizona, then LSU, Bowling Green. I see that as a win. A&M. That just looking at their schedule real quick. I mean, honestly, the sure losses in my mind are the Alabama and Georgia games to me.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing that's going to prevent them from finishing second in the West is that they have to play the 2 best teams in the conference.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's tough.
They kind of got the shaft on that one.
Yeah, they did, but I like their schedule. I mean, they're set up really well, and the Egg Bowl. It's something weird always.
Where's it at this year? Where's it at this year?
It's at LSU. I mean, at Ole Miss.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that Auburn game where you seen what they did to him last year.
Did you see the kickoff time for the Arizona game? 10 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I know it won't be but 7 in Arizona, but
yeah, I'll be up watching that. It is.
That's rough.
I'll be up watching that one. Well, let's go to the other Mississippi State school and let's talk about Ole Miss. And I just want to ask you because I've noticed, and it's not directed towards our boss Steven or anything, but it just seems like you're not really high on this Ole Miss team. Am I wrong about that, or do you just see some flaws?
No, it's not that. It's just there's a lot of uncertainty about their team, and I'm not. I mean, they could come out and shock everybody, but they got either Jackson Dart or Luke Altmaier is going to be the quarterback. Jake, I think both are really talented, but both are really unproven at this point. They got Zach Evans at running back. Jake, he done a good job for TCU out in that conference, but this ain't that conference anymore.
No.
And they have some other pieces, but I need to see a little bit more. And the truth is, I'm not an Ole Miss expert, so it's not fair. But I think there's still some unknowns about this Ole Miss team. When there's other teams in the conference like Mississippi State who has a little more star power returning.
Yeah, a lot of seasoned vets coming back. Like you said, on Mississippi State.
And I know Ole Miss has got some guys coming back too, but I feel more comfortable, especially at the quarterback position, Jake. I mean, and people talked about it last year with Alabama, in the preseason because nobody knew what Bryce Young was going to be like, and he goes on to win the Heisman. So maybe it's a little unfair to say that I'm not sure because of all the uncertainty. Or not really uncertainty, because I know the dudes can play. I know Luke Altmaier can play. I know Jackson Dart can play. I know Zach Evans can play. But the SEC is different, man. It's just different.
It is. It's a different animal.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. So, but looking at their schedule real quick, they open up with Troy. That's a snooze fest. Central Arkansas, snooze fest. I don't know why, but that Georgia Tech game just screams. I don't know. Georgia Tech, they're kind of on the up and up a little bit since they got rid of that daggone triple option, junk, and I can't think of the new coach there, but he's when you have a triple option attack like that, when you change that, your offensive linemen are not really that great at pass blocking. And
well, this is Jeff Collins' season to put up or shut up at Georgia Tech, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think they could give Ole Miss a little scare there in the third game of the season. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but
Ole Miss has got a 4-game stretch, Jake. That's really tough. I mean, you're at LSU, at Texas A&M, home for Alabama, and then at Arkansas.
Wow. Well, 5 game on. Yeah.
You talk about murderer's row.
Yeah.
And then you can finish it up with the Egg Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, that is whoever put that schedule together really hates Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
I know it. So that that's crazy.
Yeah, John says someone is coming for Lane at the end of the season, probably Auburn.
I don't know if he'll go to Auburn.
I know Tommy Tuberville left Ole Miss for Auburn, but I don't see Lane leaving Ole Miss for Auburn at this point in time.
Yeah.
Not to say that they're not going to come after him, because, I mean, if I was Auburn, I'd be going after anybody besides Brian Harsin.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see that. But I mean, somebody outside the conference may come for him, but that remains to be seen. But I just don't see him leaving Ole Miss to go to Auburn. I just don't see that.
Yeah, I don't.
Auburn, Auburn is in the national spotlight now. And everybody knows how they treat their coaches. Why would anybody go there? If they lose Harsin, they're going to be lucky to get a high school coach. That's what they're going to have to dip down to.
I wonder if they'd let Lane Kiffin get a podcast if he was at Auburn. I mean, that would actually be something worth listening to.
That would be awesome.
I mean, I hate to down Brian Harsin, but I mean, he looks like the most boring person on the face of the earth. I don't know why. I mean, his podcast may be good. I don't know.
I don't know. But last but not least,
probably better than this one, but that's not saying a lot.
Man,
the bar's really low.
The bar is low on this one. Yeah. Last but not least, Stacy, we have A&M, and honestly, I know they get, I'm going to put in quotes, they got their legally the right way, their $31 million defensive lineman and all that. But okay, that's one aspect of it. Who's the quarterback going to be? Who's their running back going to be? Who's going to be catching the passes? I mean, there's a lot of offensive questions on this A&M team. And I mean, to me, honestly, if Jimbo goes 8-4 again after buying this recruiting class, I didn't mean to say buying, but getting this recruiting class, his butt may be in hot water,
I'm with you. And I'm looking at their schedule right now, Jake. Miami's going to be a much trickier game than what people think because Mario Cristobal can coach.
Yep.
Arkansas is not going to be easy.
Nope.
At Mississippi State and at Alabama are not going to be easy. And then they also get Florida from the East, Jake. So, I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't see a way that they win. I mean, Jake, even if they go 9-3 after legally purchasing this recruiting class, is 9-3 going to be acceptable?
I wouldn't expect it to be. I mean, you just wasted 31. I mean, not wasted, but just put in $31 million. I mean, think about that.
I mean, they're not going to do that every year to finish second or third in the West every single year. They're not going to do it.
No, they're not. And honestly, like you said, the Miami game, that's gonna be a fun one to watch. I feel like that's a 9 p.m. game or 8 p.m. game, and that, South Carolina, I think they're going to be they're going to be an improved team. They did win 7 games last year, and now they got Spencer Rattler. I don't know what Spencer Rattler we're going to get,
Right.
but that could be a tricky game for them as well. I mean, if they lose that one, they could easily be 7-6. I mean, or 7-5, and then the bowl game. But I mean,
Jay, can you
8 to 9 wins.
imagine the scrutiny that Jimbo Fisher will be under if he doesn't win at least 10 regular season games?
Yeah, I know, and I just don't see how they're going to do it. Not with that schedule.
I'm serious. I mean,
yeah.
What will the media be saying if A&M goes 8-4 or 9-3?
I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to put it past Appalachian State to come in there and play hard. Honestly.
Hey, they've beaten big teams in the past.
Right. So, man, I don't know. It's this A&M team. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. How that season plays out. But I just don't see where they're going to get 8 wins at. Honestly, and they're going to need 10 to keep Jimbo's rear end from getting too hot.
I'm with you. I think if they don't win 10, if they don't go 10-2, Jake, there's going to be a lot of chatter about Jimbo Fisher.
Right. And I don't want to put a cart before a horse here, but I just don't see at Bryant-Denny after what happened last year. I just don't see how they're going to walk away with a win there. Alabama's going to, get ready for that game. So,
well, and we'll talk about
that one later.
All these teams and all these games later. But I'm sitting here thinking about what that Alabama defense can look like, Jake, with Dallas Turner and Will Anderson on the edge.
Yeah.
And we can talk about this later on Tide Talk one night. But
yeah,
I just who the heck's going to block those guys?
Right. Right. And since you brought that,
if you double Will Anderson and single up Dallas Turner.
Oh, then you got Burrows who's come
Chris
alive.
Braswell.
Chris Braswell, and I mean
Jamil Burrows from the interior.
Yeah.
DJ Dale's still there. Byron Young's still there. Justin the Boy be still there.
I mean,
I don't know how people are going to block these guys.
I don't either.
But it's a long way away. Things can happen.
Yeah, and since you brought that up, real quick, I've been thinking about because it's getting close to time. Well, we do the usually a couple weeks before the season starts, but I always do my SEC bowl predictions.
Yeah,
I got a bowl prediction that I've got set, and it's set in stone. That's the only one I got right now, but I think it's going. I think it's going to kind of blow you away a little bit. I think so. I can't wait to share that with you whenever that time comes. John, what? I'm
going to put this on the screen because there's a lot of truth in this. And if you go back and listen to the podcast that me and Jake do, Tide Talk Live, I have mentioned this
several times,
thousands of times. You take away, and I know you can't do this, but if you take away what Jimbo had with Jameis Winston, he is an average coach.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, what has he done? What has he done with it, since then? What do you do without Jimbo or without Jameis?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, he's an 8-win coach pretty much every single season. And at A&M, that's not going to get the job done.
Not when they're paying you $10 million a year.
Yeah. Kaysen said that game was a fluke, let's be honest.
With the 2013 championship? Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, once again, they were very fortunate to get out of that game with a win.
They were. If Auburn had another quarter, it would have been a blow. They would have probably put up 21 or plus on them. But it's he hadn't done anything without Jameis. So I just don't know. I mean,
Jimbo's only had 1 year at A&M where he didn't have at least 4 losses.
Yeah. Yeah, and he finished second in the
Yeah, I mean
that year, I think
that was the COVID year, I believe. They went 9-1.
Yeah, their loss to being to Alabama, wasn't it?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So,
other than that, he's been 8-4 or something like that every year.
Right. So I just don't see where they're going to get 8 wins at, and they're going to need 10 to keep him, keep the Boosters happy.
Yeah.
So
they paid him a lot of money. And now whether he wants to admit it or not, everybody freaking knows. Now they're paying some recruits a lot of money.
Exactly.
They better start producing some wins.
That Texas oil must be making bank out there. But the As lost to LSU last year. That's an inexcusable.
Yes.
I mean, because that LSU team last year was not, it would it was part like halfway through the season they just quit playing. It seemed like they still beat A&M. So anyway, you got anything else you want to add, Stacy?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think we're good. John Kaysen, car nurse, thank y'all for joining the chat. Kaysen said, not sure if y'all been out to Coil Creek lately, but they got an oil rig in the middle of 10 fairway. We was out there last Sunday, last Saturday.
Yeah, we were there Saturday, Kaysen, and I did hear there's apparently a well there, and there's a pump that's went out in the bottom of that well or something like that. That's the story I was told.
So they're trying to pump the water out, I guess, to get to the wells.
I guess.
That's crazy. So, my gosh. I mean, yeah, it's in the middle of the fairway, guys. John, if you're still listening, this is our home course. We're close where we play at. I'll give it like a 2.5 star rating. I mean, it's not that great, but there's a freaking truck that is in the middle of the fairway, and on the desk there when you pay, it says do not mind the truck in the middle of 10 fairway. Just ignore that it was there. Well, I asked the guy, I said, well, what if I hit it? I mean, the windows down. The windows are up. Glass shatter. What if I hit it? I just said, whatever. Okay, then. That's another obstacle I got to get around because I cannot hit the ball straight anyway. So I guess
we don't hit it straight enough to hit it anyway. So
exactly, resort is a strong word for that place.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ain't that the truth? They have a church which has a big dent on the side of it where Stacy hit it one time. Yep. It's sitting on a hole 15, but it's kind of out of the way. But again, we can't hit straight, so we hit it, or Stacy did. There's an inn on the grounds, and there's a big, huge camping area that's on the golf course itself too, and outside the golf course. It's just kind of different. But anyway,
it's a redneck golf course,
pretty much. But me and Stacy's pretty good at it when we hit the ball straight.
Yep.
But anyway, we can talk about golf some other time. Speaking of golf real quick, did you see Dustin Johnson is leaving the PGA?
Yep.
That is shocking to me.
Yeah, and he resigned completely.
He did.
From the PGA Tour.
That just odd. I think ain't Phil Mickelson the one that's getting this other one up. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be, but
I think the first tournament in that LIV or Live Tour, whatever it's called, is this weekend.
Okay. I'm wondering if it's going to be on TV. I might have to catch it and see how it is or whatever. But
right.
I don't know. It's just kind of odd that he left. But we've already gone nearly 40 minutes. One of these nights we may just go in here and just talk a bunch of random stuff and have a good old time in the chat. But anyway, guys, Stacey, if you don't have anything else to add, we'll get on off here. But thank you guys for joining. We'll like we said in the past, we probably won't do one every week. We'll kind of scatter it out through the summer. But once football season gets here, starts getting close, we'll start making appearances once a week right here on Best of the West. Stacy always tries to put something out on the channel for Tie Talk Live, something every morning, maybe every other morning. And we'll try to do one show a week whenever we have time. We work on schedules and stuff, but we're still pretty active there. But Best of the West, this is our secondary show, and with not much content coming out through the summer, unless something big breaks, we'll probably just do one like once a month, maybe do one twice a month or something like that. So, but for next time, this is Best of the West. I am Jake, the host, Stacy, and my partner in crime. We appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all for joining, and roll Tide.